Hi everyone, it's Catherine McIntosh with Listed, and I'm excited today to be here at Royal LePage Signature on Wellington with Elliot E. George.
Hi, Catherine.
Thank you for having
Well,
me,
thank you for inviting me.
and thank you for agreeing to do this interview.
Yes,
Yeah.
I thank you for giving me the opportunity to step outside of my comfort zone and do this interview.
Yeah, I appreciate that when we first talked about it, this isn't something you would normally do. It's a little out of your comfort zone, but you said yes.
Yes, yeah.
You just show up
And
for
here I
everything.
am. And here I am,
Yeah.
yeah.
I really get that sense that that's how you show up for clients too.
I try to, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. We met because I was doing a presentation to Royal LePage Signature,
Yeah,
and there are so many agents at Royal LePage Signature. I mean, it's a fabulous brokerage. And right away, you stood out. You reached out to me. I mean, I'd barely presented Listed, and you signed up for it and got the premium version to
yeah,
offer to your clients.
yeah.
That's pretty amazing.
I think I saw the value in it and thought, you know, I learned early on in my career, you got to just write the check and do what's best for my business and for my clients. And so, yeah, I saw the opportunity and took it.
See, that's amazing. Actually, when I think about other agents, somebody who looks at the value of something versus the price of something
Yeah,
is always better ahead.
absolutely.
And, you know, it's really interesting. I was going to ask you, how long have you been in real estate and doing this? But what I want to ask you and where I want to go with this is I find it amazing that your inspiration actually came from your parents.
Yeah.
I would love to hear more about your amazing parents and how they came here. And if my understanding is right, you basically witnessed your hardworking father save every penny and then buy real estate.
Yeah.
I get a shiver to make your lives better through investment.
Absolutely. So yeah, my parents came from Saint Vincent in the Grenadines in the late 60s. My dad came first. My mom came a few years later. And yeah, I mean, he was a shoemaker, so minimum wage worker, factory worker all his life. But he knew the power of investing in real estate. So I still have my family home we've had now for, I guess, going on 50 years. He invested in two investment properties in the 80s as well. So through the 90s, I was, helping clean the apartments, set them up for new tenants, just helping where I can. And then my dad also bought land to retire to in Saint Vincent. Unfortunately, he got diagnosed with cancer and passed away after building this beautiful house in St. Vincent, sending all this stuff down, but was never able to move into it. And that was 25 years ago now. Shortly thereafter, I became a real estate agent. And notwithstanding my dad didn't come from much, my mom and my sister and I, we've been taken care of, and largely largely in part because of the real estate investments he's made.
Wow.
And that's one of the things that inspired me to become a real estate agent, is that I know that, in terms of being able to build generational wealth and support a family, real estate is almost a must if you can. I mean, it's yeah.
Absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
you talked about your earnability as, when you have a job, and that if you have a job that's, say, even minimum wage or low, but you save your money and you buy real estate, there's nothing that increases the value exponentially over time like real estate. So you grew
Absolutely.
up recognizing that.
Exactly. And not only that, but it's not only the financial, it's also the ability, like my dad growing up in our house, often we'd have lodgers or people who needed a place to stay, and they'd live with us for, a few months. I think for the most part, that they'd pay a little rent here or there. But the point is, even for the investment properties, it's providing places for people to live. And it's not just the money. The money is also great, but it's, the opportunity to contribute to society and,
Okay, thank you so much, because you hit on another thing that I noticed right away about you. There's this attractive energy. like
Yeah.
where you make people feel really comfortable, really warm, like life is a plenty.
Well, thank you.
So it's this kind of law of attraction
Yeah.
way that you not only work but live your life, which then comes into work.
Absolutely. So yeah, I've been in I've been in the business now for 23 years, and I've always had for a long time I was known as the law of attraction agent in my office because I didn't necessarily prospect in the normal ways or I wasn't out looking for business, but business always comes to me, and that's just the way I've lived my life. I'm also trying to incorporate some of the more traditional prospecting things and
Yeah.
stuff like this, doing a podcast to get my name out there. But, I'm at the end of the day, I'm a strong believer in we get back what we put out into the universe.
Yeah,
And so,
absolutely.
I try to instill that into my clients as well when we work together, and in terms of just being aware of how we think, what our expectations are, and so setting expectations so that they're going towards what we want as opposed towards what we don't want, and in that kind of way.
And we're not always aware of what we do and don't want. When you start the journey with someone, I really like that when you're working with people, you in your whole guide, which I find amazing, right? You're setting up the journey. That is beautifully laid out so people can discover with you collaboratively
Yes.
what they want. How did that come about? Like that process of working with people in your guide?
I practice yoga. I've learned to meditate. A lot of what I've learned is just what I'm observing from people I listen to on YouTube. I have a mentor. Her name is Abraham Hicks.
Oh, yeah.
A big proponent of the law of attraction. So a lot of my
Nice.
being resonates with things that she teaches, and I try to impart that onto everyone around me, including my clients, and I incorporate it into my business, and I believe the success I've attained is much due to just the way I think and
Being the way you are.
yes, the way I try to be anyways. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that because when we were talking previously about your long career in real estate and that you've never really prospected, as they say, people and experiences have come to you. And I think in a lot of ways that's quality over quantity, because if you're going to run a business in a way that's giving that time and attention to everyone fully, then it is a quality experience. So when things come to you by attraction, they don't happen all at once. It's one after the other. And
it happens when it's meant to happen, as far as I'm concerned.
If
I'm busy, it's because I'm meant to be busy. If I'm not busy, that's okay too. I don't stress about it. I know that when I'm in need, I get, and it's I try not to stress things.
In fact, on that note, I bet if you are ever feeling like I'd like to generate more revenue or I would like to be more active, I bet you really kick up the giving
Yes.
and the doing for others.
I try to, and don't get me wrong, I want more business. I always am actively trying to get more business.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I know that the more I put out, the more I get back. And that's why, again, when an opportunity comes up and it's like, okay, do I write the check or do I not write the check? I know that, investing is what I need to do to get the return that I want. And so that's what I do.
Well, that can be very hard for clients. And I like when we were talking earlier about guessing the price, and you've seen, had some of your clients on listed guess the price, and then you've guessed it back.
Yeah.
Part of the reason we created that was to kind of take what's really stressful.
Yeah.
How much is this going to cost me? How much money and when you guess the price or you have a conversation about it, it makes it a little more fun, but it also allows you to follow it without fretting about it.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I like that you're always bringing clarity and helping people understand that they've got to write the check, but they've got to write the check when it matters. You know how some people chase the market?
Yes. Yeah.
So helping them understand, that's what I got from your guide when we were looking at your guide. that you look at each person's specific situation
Absolutely. Yeah.
and holistically.
Yes.
Yeah, like you talked about yoga and meditation, you're looking at them and their lives, reminding them, where do you work?
Yeah.
Who are you near? What neighborhood do you
Absolutely.
want to be in?
And letting them, recognizing, what they want, what they need. I'm there to I guess help them come to those realizations for themselves, because real estate's always trade-offs. It's rare that we get everything we want.
Right.
My job is to make sure you get everything you need, and also getting them to recognize that quite often you have to pay that little bit more to get real estate in Toronto. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So it's respecting their boundaries, but also encouraging them and providing a space for them to push their own boundaries so that they could get what they want.
Exactly. Like if we look back to your father, like imagine how with a family to feed and, saving money, but then he took every cent, it sounds like, and put it back into the family and back into the people that he housed and had visit you.
Exactly.
So with you helping others do that, they're really amassing their wealth in personality and being.
And something I've also always said to clients is that, like, often when it comes down to it, as I said, you have to, doesn't matter what the client's price range is, what they want is always that next step more. So whether you're a first time buyer, you've saved all your money and you're out there looking for a property and you're surprised at what what you could get for your money, because what you want is a little bit more. And even if you have a $2 million budget, quite often the house that you really want is 2.6 million.
Yeah.
So when it comes to when they find the house that they want, and we're putting in the when we're putting in the offer, often, they're asked to make that little stretch. And I always say, ask your parents when they bought their house, how much they bought their house for. In my dad's case, I think it was like something like 39,000. And if I asked him if he was alive, he would say,
only
was
had
it worth
32.
more than 32? Exactly. It's always that little stretch, but that little stretch is the difference between getting real estate and not getting real estate often. So I'm here to just basically preempt the issues that I foresee coming. By the time it happens, my clients often are aware because we've already discussed it. We've already gone there, and that it's my job is to make the transaction as smooth as possible, to protect them from any liability or any bad decisions. My job isn't to make the decision for them. That's their job. And I do my best to do that. And taking on their stresses. As much as I'm all about law of attraction and being relaxed, obviously it's a stressful job. It's a stressful process. And when my clients are stressed, I can't help but be stressed as well. But, I'm there to remind them that things always work out in the end.
Right. And being with them in that probably just makes it easier for everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Actually, I've got a good story about things always working out in the end. I had a house, and the reason I'm thinking about it now is because this house just came back on the market.
Okay.
Last week.
Did you get an alert?
No, an agent called me because she was interested. Her clients may have been interested in. She noticed that I sold it in 2019.
Oh, nice.
So the story is, my client bought it in 2013. They sold it in 2019, only to discover that when they bought it, there was an easement on title that the lawyer told them about. And, he just accepted it and didn't think anything of it. I wasn't aware of the easement on title. We sold it in 2019, and after it firmed up, between closing and firming up, the lawyers who bought the property discovered that there's this easement that hasn't been used in 50 plus years, could be proven through satellite photos, that was in favor of the neighbor to the north was in existence. Notwithstanding, there's a garage built in front of it, there's fences, no one's using this easement.
Right.
And I kept telling my clients, don't worry, and I did everything I can. I contacted the neighbor to try to get them to, acknowledge the easement, but they didn't speak English and didn't have
It's
any.
hard. Yeah.
I didn't get, I tried my best to resolve the issue. And then at the last minute, the buyers changed their mind and the deal was about to fall apart. And it was Canada Day, the day before Canada Day. And my clients had vacations planned the next week. So I called my client, okay, I know I promised you that it'll all work out, but the buyers are backing out of the deal. And I insist you not he was going to cancel his vacation. I said, no, you can't cancel your vacation. You got to go away with your family. I've got the lockbox. We've got the photos. We'll put it on the market. Everything will work out. The next day I was on my way to my friend's cottage for the weekend. I get a call from an agent whose clients are outside of the house because their friends live next door, or the agent's client's friend lives next door, let the friend know that the deal fell apart. And this agent's clients desperately wanted to see the house. Long story short, by midnight that night,
It was sold.
It was sold for $10,000 more than we had previously, and everything always works out.
Oh my gosh, I love that. There's so much in that story about acceptance, serendipity, and also this key thing. Notice this happened because of people knowing people and the agents talking and telling their clients, reaching you and getting them in, and then we're all working out.
Yeah. And not only that, the buyers, I don't want to make it sound like they're selling it now. They've been there for 5 years. They didn't settle for this house. It was in the neighborhood they wanted. Their friends lived next door. I'm not sure why they missed the house the first time around. Actually, we had competition. They missed the house the first time around. But they too were in a desperate situation where they had sold their house and they really, you know what I mean? So they were stressed. My clients were stressed. I was stressed. But within a matter of hours before the holidays came and went, all the stress was relieved and everything worked out.
Okay, well, stress is a normal part of life. So what I'm getting from this story and what I love is that it's not whether it's stressful or not, it's how you deal with the stress.
Yeah.
What real estate transaction is not semi-stressful?
Yeah.
So I love that. Now, the people you work with and your niche, I love that as a realtor, you really know your ideal customer.
Yeah.
And I love demographics. But I'd never heard of the sandwich generation.
Oh, no.
Can you tell me about the sandwich generation?
My niche market is a sandwich generation, which basically describes people usually between, say, 30 and 60, I guess. People who have children that they're taking care of and adult parents. Well, obviously they're adults. Children that they're taking care of and parents that they're taking care of, and they find themselves in the middle. So, that's a sandwich generation, aka caregivers, people who are caring for multiple generations of people and have multiple generations of real estate decisions that need to be made. And
talk about adding stress to the real estate decisions.
That's what I focus on. Yeah,
that's amazing.
Yeah,
because that's a big responsibility, having care to give on both sides.
They could be upsizing, downsizing.
Maybe your kids are moving, going off to university, and you've got to get them a rental, which can be really challenging in some of these markets.
Yeah.
Helping parents downsize is one of the most challenging things.
Absolutely, it is. It is knowing when to downsize.
How did you pick this niche?
Well, that's the demographic I'm in, so that's for starters. I turned 50 this year, so
that's congrats! I love it.
That's that was partly it, and then also, really what it is, I have a coach, and a few years ago we had to pick a niche market, and after thinking about what I do best and what my experience has been, I decided on the sandwich generation. Notwithstanding, most people, when I say the sandwich generation, they don't know what I'm talking about, but it is a thing. You could look it up. I didn't make it up.
Well, and then as soon as you hear it, you can relate.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm doing that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Then you think, wow, you know about that. You know how to deal with this. That's great.
And so because it's the demographics I'm in and describes, many of my past customers, that's what I've decided to to focus on their needs. And really what it comes down to is we're all busy. And, I, I strive to be a realtor that takes the stresses of real estate, absorbs them, and makes it possible while you still care for your kids and attend soccer games and hockey games and music concerts and whatever else life doesn't have to be put on hold because you're trying to sell your house, is what I'm trying to say, right? Life continues, and I'm here to make sure it can continue smoothly and your transaction is protected and you're protected, and we do our best.
Seamlessly. Okay, so this is great. So, some of the themes with you that I love are, you have to give, you give to receive, and not to receive, but by giving, you receive. And part of that is making an investment, right? Being able to do that, which I love. And the second part of that is actually just being curious about life and caring literally about other people and what they want. And so I'm curious to ask you how tech savvy you feel.
Yeah.
Because you jumped on this new technology.
To be honest, I'm not very tech savvy at all. I mean, I can recognize value in tech, and there are aspects of technology that I'm definitely use.
Yeah.
I'm all about AI. It's a tool that is there, and if we don't use it, someone else is using it. So but in general, I still can't use Excel. I can't. There's a lot of basic tech stuff that I'm not on top of because I turned 50 this year.
Okay, but see here, you jumped on getting listed, which I really love, and so I do love tech and am in tech, and so my belief is the technology should be invisible.
Yeah.
You shouldn't need to feel techie to be a great tech person.
There's nothing that I need to learn to use listed. It's pretty self-explanatory or pretty intuitive.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, in that sense, I'm tech savvy for the stuff that doesn't require any real technical skills.
To me, that's a successful user experience design. When you can, just like you would log on to your favorite social media platform, take what's one of the most stressful times in your life, perhaps buying, selling, use an app that keeps you connected to the one person who's helping you, and learn, grow, achieve. Back to the story you told and how it was all about timing and it was all about connection. That's one of the things we wanted to achieve with Listed, is that you're made aware of changes in the market, changes to status of a listing.
Or that client that signs on at 2 a.m. to look at a new listing, yes.
Right. Yeah. So you're connected to them in a way. And I think that's something that people don't realize is, how Facebook and all these things famously made, if the product is free, the product is you.
Yeah.
So I think what people don't realize is when they use a lot of these apps, their privacy, their own information is kind of being collected and everything. And what we wanted to make sure happened with Listed was that we weren't capitalizing on taking people's data. We were actually keeping it private. It's the only application where the only person who knows anything about you is your own agent.
Yeah.
So you're protected. And you can even determine how you want to be contacted, if you want to be contacted, when you want to be contacted. So that was really important to me.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? And how do you deal with communication?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that perspective. That being said, there are a couple people on the app that I could see that they're using the app, but I've got no way of contacting them. And it's like,
see?
I'm like,
everybody,
I hope
you
you're
really
enjoying it. Yes, there are definitely, and which is fine. It's absolutely no skin off my back. And further to your point, for the people that I can contact, or more importantly, for my clients, the people who I've shared my link with, they've knowingly downloaded the app. It's awesome because they know that I'm on top of it. I could see that they're engaging if I send them a listing, or quite often they might send me the listing before I even get to send them the listing. And
beautiful.
It just shortens that time between them sparking an interest in me being aware of it. And the sooner I could be aware of it, the sooner I could, find out more information about the property or just be on top of, what's happening in the market.
Yeah, it's this efficiency that really makes a difference, because when it is a stressful purchase or sale, if you can make it shorter, if you can make it easier, if you can make it more collaborative, like you said, instead of finding out just basic information, you can go deeper then, because you have more time to delve into the property and the purchase for them.
Absolutely.
This is great. So, are there any questions you have for me about technology or about, anything you could do with, with listed or your clients that you want to know about? Because you got this for you and them.
Yes. Just in terms of how it works, I was going to ask you this off camera, but I guess we're here. We may as well do it. When I send it to a client, like let's say it's a brand new client they don't have listed.
Yep.
And I see something that's come out and I send it to them.
Yep.
Do they have to register to see it? Or
no.
Do they? Okay, so that's why I get confused, because that's what I thought. But then there was a client that I sent it to, and okay, I was going to suggest that they not have to register, at least on the first.
See, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah.
And it's good you brought it up.
Yeah.
This brings up another thing that came up this morning, and I'd just like to ask you about. Yeah. So, you know how so many times if you see a house or they have a QR code on the sign, it goes to the realtor page or it goes to some general website. Yes. And you're like, what? I just want to know about this house. So the great thing is with listed, when you put your link to your listing on the sign,
it goes straight to the listing.
It goes straight to the listing. They don't have to have the app. They don't have to sign in to see it. They tap and open. It's that kind of direct access to information and simplicity. And they have you at a tap if they want. And then they have to sign in to go deeper. But the other misperception is it's not Elliot wanting you to sign in. It's not us wanting them to sign in. It's actually the rules of the real estate board.
Yeah.
There are certain rules with real estate to look at it. And I don't think people realize that. They think there are these benign apps out there that are just real estate without realtors. Yeah. And that is actually not the case unless it's a person selling their own home on Craigslist or something. Yeah.
That being said, as you're saying, for that initial listing, they get to see the listing that you sent without them having to sign up.
Absolutely.
Because there's one client that maybe he had some other technical issue, but I thought that he was telling me he had to sign in.
Do you know what? Okay.
And then I stopped thinking, and then I kept forgetting to call you and ask you about it.
I love you can always ask me. Actually, this brings up another thing about real estate, which is great, because we spoke before the interview about just how opaque real estate is. So everything we can do to bring some air to the situation is great. Some listings that are available are VOW only, meaning you actually have to sign in to see them. Yeah. So when a real estate brokerage puts up its listings, it does have a choice. Do I want consumers to be able to see this listing without having to sign in or not? Yeah. And I won't name the names, but there are a couple brokerages who make all their listings private.
Yeah. Which doesn't make sense.
It's like doesn't.
Our job is to get as many eyes on it as possible.
Exposure.
Like when agents click, no, you can't advertise my listing. It's like,
well, you don't want to sell it?
Why not? Like, don't you want as many people? Maybe I could advertise it to someone that you're not advertising it to. Not that I'm not
exactly.
The agent,
but
I allow, when I have a listing, and an agent emails me and asks permission to advertise, it's always like, sure. I mean, as long as it's truthful and respectful, or it's on all within the TREB guidelines, then of course they can advertise it.
And a great agent who asks you to advertise is probably energetic and wanting to do business and going, and they're probably going to ask you, how does this look? Yeah. Is it?
And they're probably on that TikTok site or that Facebook, is it called? Things like that. Social media.
Exactly. So that actually is a really good point. If you're a brokerage and you're deciding that certain listings are not going to be seen by the public, really what you're saying is you're putting yourself first and
Yeah,
not
you're
the
trying to
consumer.
protect your commission and
Yeah. You're trying to channel the business into your own
yeah.
realm. So actually, that made me think about your home and having people from a young age like come to either. It sounds like your dad would let people stay
Yeah.
or pay a little rent, but the whole point was community and that
Absolutely.
people are taken care of and giving back.
Absolutely.
And I think if we extend that to the way you do business, it's allowing other realtors permission to advertise, making sure that it is accurate,
Yeah.
but reaching the market, working with others, reaching out to me immediately after you signed up for listed right away and took part in it. And that kind of engagement
Yeah.
brings action and activity. And I think that's so valuable for consumers when they're looking to buy or sell,
Yeah.
to have someone who cares about their timing, about their needs.
Absolutely.
Like, you didn't speak so much about your guide, but
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I got like this whole journey depending on what part they do know about the financing or don't know about, or
Yeah.
how they're going to divest themselves of all their property if they're downsizing. This is valuable information.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, and everyone's different.
Absolutely.
How do you, okay, well, I know for me, from a technology standpoint, you could start working with someone, and I think this is where you can use technology to start to learn what they want.
Yeah.
And they start to learn what they want through the
Absolutely.
technology. So the technology is making you, in a way, become closer, become more aware of what you want and
more
need.
efficient in terms of just getting the knowledge that you need. Is it happens a lot faster. When I started real estate 23 years ago, the business was different in that us realtors we had the information.
Coveted.
There's if
Closed.
you wanted to buy a house, you had to speak to a real estate agent, and we had a book. Well, by the time I was on it, yes, it was online, but the hot sheets would come out. We knew what was for sale. Only up until recently, we were the only ones that knew how much things sold for.
Yeah.
Now that's changed, that the information's out there for everybody. Mm-hmm. And we agree that it's better that way. Like I'm not the protector of information. I'm here to make sure that information is digested properly,
Like,
to make the process easier to get you from where you want to be
to where you're going.
Yes.
Yes. And that is what I really loved that you said earlier about how you don't make the decision for the person.
No,
You're a guide.
Exactly. I'm there to guide you. But I that being said, I often know what the right decision is for you, but you've got to get to that point yourself. And so, yeah, I'm here to just facilitate as much as possible. And early on, I was told in my career, obviously we're a commission-based job, and there's going to be times when we're not making any money, but that can never be if a client could sense that I'm hungry, mm-hmm. it's game over, because that's not, you know what I mean? I'm not here for me primarily. I'm here to help you. And as a bonus, I get paid once you're happy or once you've made a deal. But I can't put my needs ahead of my client's needs. And I try to adhere by that. I think I successfully adhere by that.
Yeah. Actually, people can tell whether or not you have their best interests at heart.
Yeah.
I find. And when you're in a commission-based industry, I find, and I've seen with realtors, when you decouple the fact that you're going to make any money from the process of helping them, you just know that when you help everyone, you don't need to pressure these people to buy a house. In fact, you might have them decide to stay in their own home and wait.
Absolutely.
You might have somebody else who is scared to make a move, but they need to act now to not be chasing the market.
Yeah.
And it's a very big deal what you said about even when you know what's right for them, and they can't make that decision for whatever reason because they're scared or they're not ready, and then they see it later and they're like, oh, as long as you lead them in the right direction, they're going to appreciate that later.
And I also know that as much as I might know that this decision is right for them, as long as they take all the steps towards getting to that point, whether if it doesn't work out for them, then clearly something better will come. But it's the clients that are always talking themselves out of, you know what I mean, like coming up with excuses, or just they know it's perfect, but they'd rather go to their hair appointment that night or whatever it is. You know what I mean? They're putting other things ahead of this important decision. Those are the clients that I'm like, well, are you going to eventually get what's best for you, or you're going to eventually just get what you settle for? Like it's all about putting the effort in, and then the outcome will work out itself. Meaning if you might put your best offer on a house, but you get outbidded, that's fine.
You tried.
That's fine. You tried. It's the person that didn't try that isn't going to get the house. If you got outbidded on this one, there's likely a better house out there for you.
Yeah,
I honestly believe that, and more often than not, it becomes the case. Like the house that my clients eventually get are always the house that they're happiest in. And
yes,
many of my clients are still in their houses, 20 plus years later. Unfortunately, they're not reselling them every 5 years like they should, but
That's amazing. Okay, well, I couldn't agree more, because I see evidence of that all the time.
Yeah.
And it's having that faith that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
Like the way that you told those clients, it's okay, the deal fell through, go on your holiday, it's all going to work out. And then it magically actually works out right before they go. So that's another thing I noticed about you. You're a person of action. So that must help you help your clients understand what they need to do to achieve the thing they want to achieve.
Yes, I hope it does. Like those are my intentions, is just to in some ways lead by example, not stress the stuff that doesn't need to be stressed, not always, be pessimistic about the market. It's like, no, there's winners and losers. We just have to decide to be winners.
It's just a fact, and you make the strategy in it.
Yeah.
Okay, the other thing, you have a real estate coach. Well, a life coach probably, and business coach.
Yeah.
Like, your the way you holistically treat your life. How much do you think that's another investment in yourself that, really enriches you to help enrich your clients? How much do you think what you do to constantly improve and be an expert and make yourself better is helping your clients focus and know what they want?
I think, a lot of it does help, and helps me help my clients in that way. That being said, I gotta admit, I've had many coaches. Like through the years, I'm always reinvesting in myself, and unfortunately, this is my own negative thought, but I feel like I'm uncoachable often. Like it's like there's so many things I should be doing that I'm not doing. That being said, I also find that, as I said earlier, as long as I make the investment, even if I don't do everything that my coach is telling me to do, I still often reap the benefits. Business still comes to me, and I continue to strive to do better. Like this, as I said, this is stepping out of my comfort zone, because I want to get out there. I want to get more social media presence. You provided this opportunity, and so here I am doing it, and my coach would be proud of me for doing it. So
yes. And you know why I wanted you here? Because you attract people. You don't shout it out from the rooftops.
Yeah.
But the clients you have are so happy with you, and the quality and care is so exceptional.
Yeah.
When you look at how people are served and what they get and how they're related to, that I want people to be able to reach someone who's a great agent and have a seamless experience. And so it's funny to have a company like Listed, where you would think that the more agents on listed, the better.
Yeah.
And, you know, agents already do well when they're connecting with each other, but we really want that percentage like you who's in that top 10% that's quality.
Yeah.
I never, as CEO of Listed, want any consumer to be connected to an agent they're not thrilled with.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can confidently say if they don't have an agent and they download Listed or click here and get you,
Yeah.
they're going to have an amazing experience.
Yeah.
Which is so important to me because that was one of the key things. There are a lot of tech companies that go direct to consumer or, you know, try and just use technology so a person can just buy or sell a house on their own. The challenge with that is that this takes time and attention, this business, and it really is relationships. And that's never going to change.
Yeah. Relationships, and it's the emotional challenge. Like my job is to take the emotion, not to take it out of it, but to separate emotion from healthy decisions, right? And so when someone's trying to represent themselves, even as realtors, like when I go to list my house is going to be the best house on the street, and I'm going to want to, I'm going to want to list it higher than it probably should. It's just
and the red paint on that wall is amazing.
I've taken my realtor hat off and I've put my I'm the seller hat on. So you need someone that's there to be like, no, Elliot, your house isn't the best on the street. It's not worth $500,000 more than ever, and here's why. So yeah, it's about separating the emotion from the business. I do have a story, and I was working with family, and it was a stressful time.
Yeah.
The family member was just going through changes. I represented them on their purchase and sale, and at the end of the day, yes, everyone's alive and she's in her home, and 5 years later, everything worked out. But the lesson I learned from that was not that I can't work with family, but I had to realize where to, and in that case, I did have to eventually get another realtor to come in and work with us because I was too emotionally invested in the whole process. There's emotion, there's a lot involved in the real estate transaction. And a lot of people in the public think us realtors get paid so much, but my reason for that is for every successful transaction that I do, there's like probably 10 others that I've put in the time, I've put in the energy, we've made offers, and for whatever reason it didn't work out, and so it's that's just the nature of the business. And as much as there's companies out there, tech companies that are trying to get to go, as you said, direct to consumer and get them to be able to do it on their own. The reason I've argued that a machine can't replace my job is because of that. The emotional aspect is what is missing. The relationship, the nurturing of the experience to make sure that they're protected. Where it's not just a numbers game is what I'm trying to say. It's not just accept the best offer and it's done, because there's a lot of other factors involved.
And look how much information you have to take in as an agent when you're seeing property and meeting people that there's no data for. There's no data point for it. A large language model can't be trained on it because it doesn't exist. It's literally a collision or a tangential meeting or something that happens that promotes it.
Absolutely. And each client, each situation is individual. It's not, it can't. There's things that are similarities that could be grouped together with different clients. But at the end of the day, we're all individuals. We all have, our own individual thoughts and beliefs and challenges. And my perspective is that nothing comes by chance. We attract everything that comes to us in this world. And it's once you realize that, it's not about blaming yourself for the things that that attract you that you don't want. It's about recognizing, well, I could change this. It's kind of an empowering thought. It's like, hey, well, how do I change this? As well, by being aware of how you think, being aware of your beliefs, what you choose to believe. It doesn't matter if something's true or not. It's whether or not what you believe is helpful or not.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. Go back to your father, who basically came and saw if he could make investments in real estate, he could grow a foundation to build a family on.
Absolutely.
And then actually did it,
Yeah.
and actually changed and uplifted everyone to make this better situation. That must be part of what makes you happy with your own clients. Are there any moments or stories or people that, where you think, wow, like I do it all because of this, or,
I'm sure there are many. I'm not sure which ones come to mind now.
or because you're on the spot.
Yeah.
But, okay, even for someone new, what do you love about this business? Or, what makes you get up every day or have a purpose in life?
I mean, I'll be honest. What I love, I'm free to do what I want to do in the day. I'm not working for someone. I'm what as has become the theme of this is what I put out is what I get back, and so I'm in control. I think I'm a people person. Like
I think
when
so.
I finished university, I realized I'm a people person. I'm not. I don't want to sit at a desk all day and just look at numbers and so at some point early on, I realized I'm a people person. Sales is what us people persons go into, and I could sell people on the idea of dying. Insurance. Yeah, didn't sound that appealing to me. I could sell tanks.
Yeah, don't want to kill people.
Well, a lot of money in that, but that's not appealing to me. But home ownership, as I said, my dad inspired me to realize that you could come from practically nothing and provide for a family and provide for generations of family. As I said, we still have that house today. It's in our family. And notwithstanding, a lot of people think, well, times have changed. Back then, a single income could buy a house. It's true, but we can only deal with the time that we have now. And so whatever you have to do to get on the real estate train is just, it relative to how challenging. Basically what I'm trying to say is my dad felt the same way back then, notwithstanding in retrospect, it was so much cheaper. To him back then, it was just as hard it is for a first-time buyer today.
Right.
Right? Like the challenges remain the same. It's just all relative. Now we're, 50 years later, and prices are more than 10 times what 100 times what they were. I don't know, but it's still the challenge remains the same. We have to stretch to afford real estate.
Yeah, just the way we have to stretch to step into that new self that we're becoming, right?
Absolutely.
Because where you live becomes who you are. It's amazing how much your surrounding impacts you. Have you met with people who just don't even think buying a house is ever going to be in the cards for them? And what do you say to them? How do you inspire someone that actually needs to make that change?
I don't, to be honest.
No.
Like if someone feels like, okay, if they feel like it's something they want, but they feel like that's someone I could work with. But if I meet someone who just has no interest in getting real estate, that's completely fine. Like I'm not here to convince anyone that real estate is the road to go. I
feel like everyone should buy something.
Well, I do too, but it's not for me to convince you.
Ooh, I like that.
Right? Like throughout my career, people have said, "Is it the right time to buy?" And really, early on in my career, I decided it's really simple deciding whether it's the right time to buy. If you have the desire to buy and the ability to buy, then it's the right time to buy.
Nice.
You have the desire to buy, but you don't have the money, then okay, you've got something to work on. And if you have money, but you don't have the desire to own real estate, then
spend it on something else.
Then spend it on something else. Travel, rent.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of people who think renting, okay, I'm not here to convince you otherwise, but if you have the ability to buy and the desire to buy, you can't really time the market.
Yeah.
You know, it's the right time to buy when those two things align.
So
In my
actually,
opinion.
timing is a lot about the person
Yeah.
and their circumstance more
Absolutely.
than the market.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That said, how do you navigate a buyer market, a seller market, a balanced market?
I mean, the challenges are always the same, in my opinion. The seller wants to get as much as possible. The buyer wants to pay as little as possible. Most of my career, it's been, for the most part, a seller's market.
Yeah.
We're entering a period where it seems like it's more of a balanced market. It's been rare moments in time since 2000 where I could consider it like, hey, it's a buyer's market. The problem is when it's a buyer's market, the buyers who had been waiting for that time continue to wait because they think, oh, prices are down. I'm going to wait and wait and wait until it's too late. And that's why I say you can't really time the market. It's if you have the ability to buy and the desire to buy, then explore your options. Don't worry. If you buy, I've said this before to clients as well. If you buy today and the market tanks tomorrow, as long as what you've bought is within what you can afford, as long as what you've bought is you bought it because you love it and it's, you know, it's where you could see yourself being, even if the market tanks tomorrow, as long as you're able to make your payments, it doesn't matter what the market's done. It's going to tank tomorrow and come back up the next day. And even at the peak of the market in 2022, I guess, if you weren't selling at that peak, did it really matter that it was once worth this and now it's worth that? As long as you're happy where you're living, that's what counts most. And that as much as you may have stretched to buy it, I don't encourage clients to overstretch. Like I don't want anyone losing their house because they can no longer afford it. So, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's about believing in yourself, believing in the decisions you made, trying not to second guess yourself. And at the end of the day, I feel like for the most part, if you could do that, you're going to be happy wherever you are. And being happy, I mean, that's at the end of the day, I'm learning about just being happy regardless of situations. It's just, that's, you know, if we have a choice.
That's success, actually, the ability to be happy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love that. How does someone work with you?
What do you mean?
How does someone find you? What do you do when you first meet someone? Like if we were at a party and I got introduced to you and I was like, Elliot.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I've always wanted to buy a house. I don't know where to begin.
Unfortunately, I often go home and like, I hope they call me. I hope they call me. I hope they call me. No, I mean, how does someone...
Actually, for now, you got to give them listed in person. So they'll be attached to you.
I mean, much of my business has come from my friends, my network of people.
Your repeat and referral business.
Much of it is repeat and referral. Much of it is just at open houses, I meet people. As I said, I'm a people person. So, I mean, I guess I'm struggling with an answer because unfortunately, I don't have like a strict system that goes, okay, when we just organically meet, we gel, you trust me. It comes down to trust. You know what I mean? I could work with people who trust me. If they don't trust me, then you know, it's probably not going to work. It's not, you need to be able to trust the agent that you're working with. And not everybody, you know what I mean? I don't expect to get everybody as a client, everyone who I meet. It's just some people want to work with you, some don't. That's okay. For the most part, I'm just here to help. I'm just here to, if you meet me at a party and we're talking real estate, I'm going to just speak freely and hope I could get you one step closer to whatever you want real estate wise, whether it's using me or not using me.
Yeah. Okay. Now I like that. Now, okay. So I want to ask you a question. It's so important to me who makes a real estate product to align the interests of consumers with their agent.
Yeah.
That both sides have value. And we give value to the consumer by making the best tool, and then we have the agent pay for it so that it's free for your clients, right? So, the product is not them because you're buying it for them and sharing it with them, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
So does listed have value for you?
Absolutely.
Is it worth it?
Absolutely. I mean, even just for me, on its own, listed keeps me informed. Like as properties come up, I see it, it gets buzzed to me. I don't have to sign on to the real estate site to see what's new. And then as far as for clients go, as I said, I there's many clients that after we first start talking and I send them a listing, I send it through Listed now since I've had it rather than through Realm. And often they sign on, and just knowing that they signed on or knowing that they're looking at the listings makes me feel more connected to them. And I feel like often they recognize the investment that I've made, and they value that. And so it's easier to retain, get customers from customers to being clients, and getting them to trust me to sign a contract and continue the process of whether it's looking for houses or selling houses. I could sell a potential seller sold listings through Listed as well. So it's very helpful.
I'm so glad, because that was the point, is that you have these, that it actually deepens the relationship, because as you said, you see activities they're doing, but they see activities you're doing, like when you've made a comment on something or that you're active in the market. So it's deepening that relationship through these connection points of the market together. Right? Which contracts time, makes you more efficient, and brings you to a greater level of knowledge and understanding, both about each other, about the market, and then helps you succeed. Okay, I'm so glad. Do you think it's expensive?
I can't remember how much I paid.
See?
I wrote the check and that was it,
That's exactly the right answer. My favorite quote is Warren Buffett always says, value is what you get, price is what you pay. So you don't even remember what it costs because you made the choice to get it because it was valuable.
Absolutely.
I love it. Well, I could not be happier that there are consumers out there who have the opportunity to work with you and get you as an agent, because you're just not going to find Elliot E. George out there saying, come work with me. You're going to be attracted to him.
But yes.
But they're going to be attracted to you. They're going to meet you or get introduced by someone, because, it's funny because, you said you're not out there saying this, but like the typical prospecting. But actually, let me point out how out there you really are. You have lots of listings. You're active in the market. You're meeting people at open houses. You're sharing your app with them. So you're actually out there touching more people in what I would call meaningful ways than having an advertisement or a social media piece or a banner. Like, I love that you're like that TikTok thing. Do you know what? How meaningful that you meet someone at open house, they have that trust element, they're attracted to you, and now they can transform their lives because they're with you.
Absolutely.
It's
that's
so good.
The goal.
Well, I can't thank you enough for being here with me today and inviting us to your office, which I love at Signature here. It's so great. Is there anything you'd like to say, parting? Or
I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and to present myself. As I've said a number of times before, I haven't done this. I've been wanting to do this for years. Just in terms of being on video, getting comfortable with it. More recently, I've been trying to videotape myself, and it's so difficult, but I'm getting there. I'm getting better. But yeah, I'm glad that you sent me the message. And although I didn't reply right away, I gave it some thought, and I realized, no, this is what I should do. So thank you for making this possible. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, that reminds me though. There's one more thing. Elliot E. George. I love that. Okay, come on. What does the E stand for?
Eleazar.
Eleazar.
Yeah, you weren't expecting that, were you?
No.
Elliot Eleazar George is my full name.
Wow. In another life, you could have been a poet
Yeah.
or, like on stage. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it. Now, just so everybody knows, the alternative to being in this room
Yeah.
was we were going to be in your favorite location, which is out with your dog in nature,
walking my dog.
walking your dog.
Yeah.
So can we just give a final shout out to your dog? And anyone who loves pets, you're going to love
My dog
Elliot.
is a English Cocker Spaniel named Prince. And
My favorite
he is
artist.
A prince, yeah.
I love it.
Prince King George.
Prince King George
That's his full name.
with Elliot Eleazar George.
Yes.
I love how you got George in both the names.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks again. And I'd love to hear you back and hear how it
Thank you.
goes
Yeah,
in the future.
I hope to be back and, a little more polished next time, a little more comfortable.
You're perfectly polished.
Yeah?
Perfectly
Okay.
imperfect. I love it.
Okay, perfect.